seawall around it, filled it all in with the dirt and gravel. He actually made himself his very own island. I don't remember if I told you, that's Crow Island. Now he says he likes to come out here in the spring and fall, use that as a fishing and hunting retreat. In the summertime though, he likes to come out and escape the tourism from Alexandria Bay. Luckily for him though, our boats come by here about 12 times a day, filled with people that take a nice look at his island. And the large island just next to that, you can barely see the home hiding through the trees, that's Idlewild. That home is time-shared by 3 professors from Syracuse. Now, a lot of these homes you see today on the island, they are not lived in year-round, they are just summer homes. So time-sharing is a way to share the cost of that. Now let's see, let's talk about islands a little more specifically. What does it mean to be an island, and how many are there really in the Thousand Islands? Well, to be an island, you have to be above water 365 days out of the year. You have to be able to support the life of 2 living plant forms and be at least 1 square foot in diameter. Let's see how well a little pole up here on top deck goes. I'm going to ask you if you think there are less, exactly, or more than 1,000 islands. So with a show of hands, go ahead and raise your hands if you think there are less than 1,000 islands. Nobody? Oh, now we have some. Okay. Okay. Now raise your hands if you think there are exactly 1,000 islands. After all, that is what we're called, right? Makes sense. Okay. Now raise your hands if you think there are more than 1,000 islands. Well, that's a majority of you. They're all playing along, right? Now, there's still a few of you who have not raised your hand yet, so I have a question for you. How many people just really don't care how many islands are here in the region? Alright, well, we have approximately 1,864 islands. Over on your right, that is the first Canadian island we're going to talk about. That's Pompelli. If you look back there, see that large stone cross up on the cliff? Now, since I have pretty good eyesight, I'm going to tell you what that cross reads. It says, "In Memoriam of Francis A. Stout, 18 July 1874, waiting for the resurrection." And he was an attorney from New York City. He enjoyed this region for its beauty and wildlife. So upon his death here in the region, his family put that cross up there in remembrance of him. Now, if you look over to your right, you may have seen that little river community over there. That is Rockport, Ontario. That is all Canadian mainland over there. Tiny town of 2s. We've got 2 restaurants, 2 general stores, 2 souvenir shops. They have their own boat line, just like we do. And you'll see that white church kind of blending in with the trees over there. That's St. Brendan's Roman Catholic Church. That's actually the oldest wooden church in eastern Ontario. Right now you have a nice look at the large structure towering over the treetops over there. That is the Thousand Islands Sky Deck, sitting over in Canada on Hill Island. It's an observation tower, rises about 400 feet into the air. Now that spiral thing along the outside, that is a staircase, except for you don't have to climb all those stairs unless an emergency. There is a high-speed elevator that takes you right to the top in about 40 seconds. And then once you get up there with high-powered binoculars, you can see about 40 miles in any direction. Now if you decide you want to visit over there, you would have to check into Canada at customs, and you would need either an enhanced driver's license or a passport. A simple driver's license doesn't work for you anymore. Let's turn our attention back to the left. This is Pine or Holiday Island coming up here. White cottage with green trim. This was once owned by professor and author from Syracuse University. His name was Mr. John Keats. He actually wrote 2 novels over there. A Skiff on the River and Of Time on an Island. you're looking over here, that large green tank, that's called a holding tank. It's where they collect all of their sewage and wastewater. Get a nice picture of that. See, this guy is right here. Nice. There's actually another photo opportunity coming up here. This large island with the home on it sits fully in Canadian waters, and I've been told that the smaller island just ahead of that sits fully in U.S. waters. As we go by, you're going to see that white 42-foot footbridge connecting the two islands. The boundary line runs right underneath that, making it the shortest international bridge in the world. So that is the Zabuton Island Group that was once owned by Congressman Robert Rich of the Woolwich Knitting Mills in Pennsylvania. And he had a pretty good sense of humor because he told one of our tour guides one day that when he came out here in the summertime, it was just him and his wife over there for 3 long summer months. Whenever she got to be too much for him, he would just whistle for the dog, grab his favorite six-pack, walk right across that bridge, leave his wife in another country for a while. So welcome you back to the U.S. Right now we're actually traveling in a section of the river known as the Mud Flats. It's a pretty muddy, shallow, and weedy section through here, only about 8 to 10 feet deep. Can you see down to the bottom there? No, you can't. On a clear morning, you can. Right now, though, without that sun shining, and a bunch of tour boats have been through here, so I'm not Now, do we have any fishermen aboard the boat here? No. You're a fisherman? Yeah? We have over 80 different kinds of fish in the river. Can you believe that? That's a lot of fish. What is that? I'm gonna come look at that in a minute though. I'm curious. Let's talk about fish. Let's see, we've got the small largemouth bass, the perch, pike, pickerel, sunfish, crappies, bullheads, walleye, freshwater sturgeon. Have you heard enough? Alright, well, let's see. If you're ever out here fishing and you catch a sturgeon, make sure you have a camera with you. I'm talking to you, little buddy. Listen, make sure you have a camera out here. Sturgeon, they can grow to be 7 to 10 feet in length. They can grow upwards of 150 pounds. They can live to be over 100 years old. So if you ever catch one of those, you'll make sure you want to take a picture of that so you can show everyone. They might not believe that you caught a fish that large, because the second picture you'd have to take is actually of you putting that fish right back into the river, because sturgeon are on the endangered list, so you can't keep them. Now if you were caught with a sturgeon, you'd be charged a pretty hefty fine, and you'd have to give the fish back to the river. So they're not illegal to catch, but they are illegal to keep. Let's look over here to our left. This is Deer Island. This was once owned by George Miller. He was a graduate of Yale University, also a member of the Skull and Bone Society. And he traveled the world as an amateur archaeologist. It was rumored that he had a collection of artifacts over here on the island. One of them including the Gutenberg Bible, which was the first book to run through on the printing press. He had a few samurai swords, a full suit of armor, and his total collection valuing up into the millions. Now when you're in this society, upon your death, you do have to will back 1/3 of all your assets right back to the society. Mr. Miller's 1/3 was this island over here and the building housing the collection.